How often do you step onto the tee with driver, thinking this is the time I'm going to hit it a little bit further? You stand on there, you put a lot more effort into this shot, and you gain maybe a yard or two. Or worse still, the more effort you put in, the more wild your shots become. And the question is, often frustration more than anything else, how do the best players make it look so smooth, so silky, so effortless, yet they're able to kind of hit it 300 yards plus? What are they doing? I'm going to share with you in this week's video some of the things that you do to kind of make this swing really relaxing but super, super smooth. But there's a process to that. And in this week's video, I want to share with you what I share with my students to help them build an effortless, smooth swing that they can take to a golf course and really, really enjoy. There's nothing worse than having a swing that feels awkward and cumbersome. And no matter how hard you try, the worse it actually gets. So that's what we're going to cover in this week's video. Before I do though, look, if you're new to the channel, if you're the first person of mine, please consider subscribing or release videos just like this one every single week to try and help you improve your game. Plus, you never have to remember a thing. Everything we do here, I'll put into a free download or practice guide in the description box below. So by the end of this video, I would love it if you were able to go onto a golf course and really start to enjoy the driver. More importantly, enjoy the swing. It should feel great hitting a driver, and that's my aim for you by the end of the session. So there's 3 stages to it though. In order for us to get to this smooth, silky motion, we have to follow each stage. We can't just jump there. So the first stage is about understanding how to square this club face, how to get the club face lined up at impact. And the reason being is top players have pretty much mastered this, and this allows them to just naturally let the club swing beautifully freely. The problem is with amateur golfers is what I see all the time is they haven't mastered this skill yet. So what happens is, I'll show you an example. This would be a smooth swing where the club's just beautifully flowing through nice and easily. The problem is, if your club face is wide open and you don't realize this, that ball heads way out to the right. Then what your body does to react, it kind of then starts to do this to react to that on the next shot. Before you know it, now suddenly you don't have that smooth swing anymore because the smooth swing led to this way shot over to the right, big slice, right? So we start to make compensations. And then the swing starts to take on, over weeks of doing this kind of ugly, kind of messy look, right? So the first thing I always teach my students is I need to help them build a skill and a feel of where this club face is. So the simplest way to do this, and you can do this right now in the comfort of your own home, understand what your left hand and right hand are doing, right? Now your lead hand is basically responsible predominantly for the club face position. So if you put your lead arm out like this, straight in front of you here, all we're going to do is simply this. This would be roughly a square face. This would be the face closing downwards, and this would be an open face. So this is more what you call slice, straighter, draw. Simple, right? This is the hand position. You could just play around with the feeling of this, right? Your trail hand is ultimately the club path. So people that slice the golf ball tend to look more like this. So this would be this motion where the hand's flipping this way, and see my arms coming outwards. That would be slice, and this would be more draw. So this would be more neutral. That's more of a draw. The more we get into here is draw. The more that's more neutral. That's more slice, right? So you've got a feeling of what these hands are doing. Super simple, right? So you go to a golf ball and you don't worry about swing for a second. You have to learn to feel this. And I'll get my players hitting shots and I'll get them curving the ball right to left and left to right to give them a sense of this club face. If you don't have this, if you don't have feeling of this, it doesn't really matter what you do in the golf swing. Everything else is going to adjust to what you face. If your face is wide open, you're going to do some weird stuff on the way down to square it, right? We need to learn how to do this naturally. So let's take, for instance, here, look, the right hand. So when I see a student, for instance, who's slicing the golf ball, they're being told to close the face. But what they do is they close the face like this. Now the problem is, this is moving the path where? Left of target. It gets this crumpled look. We don't close the face with our trail hand. We close it with our lead hand, right? So what we want to do is we don't want the path going this way, because if I do that, watch this. See, if I try and let this club release now, my path is going to go way to the left, and I'm going to have this kind of big, look at this, club path minus 5.3, face with a positive number open, I create a bit of a slice. And I'm trying, what you see with a lot of players, trying to close the face down. You don't do it with the trail hand, you do it with the lead hand, right? In fact, the trail hand is the thing that kind of determines the path your club takes. So if you're slicing it, the more we get here, the more the path is is out to the right, the more we're into draw territory, right? But also powerful territory. So let's start with the trail hand first. You learn this feeling. Now, am I dragging it? No, I'm feeling the timing. This club is always, look, releasing. But look, if I release it too early here, my body's too far behind the ball, it's going to release like this. So I kind of keep going until I can feel more of this motion. So I'm striking the ball much, much more naturally like that. Now listen to the sound of this when I do that. So I'm just learning the feeling, look, of this hand. Start small. Nice and easy shot to start with. And listen to the sound of this. It'll go naturally much further. There you go, another 50 yards just on the back of that. And what do you notice now? The club path has gone to a positive. I've even controlled my club face. And that gives me a very, very straight shot that's going to a pretty decent distance, yeah? Now, we could do all of that. Beautiful here. Now we're in strike territory. The problem is the golfers is they've got this beautiful, but they haven't controlled this. So now what they look like is this. So I see a lot of people, they've been told this is a great thing, it's powerful motion, but they haven't got the feeling of this left hand, so they leave the face wide open, and now they look like this. And now suddenly, the ball starts to fly further and further to the right because the face is open, right? So we're getting a strike, but the ball's going right. So we need to kind of get a sense of what both hands are doing. So all we do is remember those two things. The lead hand controls the face. Play around with it. So if I was to, before we move on to step 2, before you do anything else, play around with these sensations. I'm going to focus on my lead hand here. And I'm going to close the face by getting almost my logo of the glove pointing slightly more down towards the ground. But I am not going to close the face, look, like this, and ruin that position of my right hand. I am feeling my right hand here while my left glove turns down to the ground. So this is an exaggeration, but this is me feeling now, me closing the face. Now watch this. It's really exaggerated just for you. But I get people playing with that. Club path, face to path, and I've created that motion. People then go, well, how do I make sure it's exact, Danny? You can't. The level of precision in golf comes from a skill. It's a skill that you build. You know, golfers who try to be perfect at impact are just wooden golfers, trying too hard. You have to build this feeling. So when I was doing these motions, I'm flowing the club beautifully backwards and forwards. Let's move on to step number 2. So you've laid the foundations to an effortless golf swing by learning how to square that face up very, very naturally. The second stage now is to really, how do the arms work? And the third stage we'll finish off, which is where the real effortlessness that comes in, is the body, right? So how do the arms work? Easy. Grab your bicep, pin it to your body like this. Make a few beautifully relaxed swings so the club's not controlled, it's beautifully flowing. But as you do this, allow the elbow or the club or the arm to pivot, look, around my elbow. Most people, when they do this drill for the first time, they pull it in or they try to move the arm out here. No, no, no. The arm rotates, look, around the elbow. And where does my arm work? It works upwards. Now you look at this, I don't see many players doing this. You do if you add the turning, look. Now suddenly look at this. The arms are responsible for taking the club up. My body is responsible for, look, taking the club around, you see. But here's the beauty of this. When you're here, you've just learned what the right arm's supposed to feel at impact, haven't you? So as we come down, look, I know what I'm supposed to feel at impact. I swing, do we do this? No, that's throwing the club away, and we don't want that, right? So we now roughly know where we need to be, so we kind of move through. And suddenly now we're naturally flowing, look, into this place because you've just learned that, what the right hand's supposed to be doing, yeah? So just make some beautiful swings like this, yeah? Keep that locked in. Add a little pivot. And then add the feeling, yeah? Backwards and forwards. That's it, right? It's a skill you've got to build, right? Same with the left side, or lead side. Hold the bicep in, lock it in. Now, a lot of people here, when they're trying to hit a ball straight, they do this. That's just not natural, right? It's awkward, right? No, no, no. Let it swing. Where's my left arm working, my lead arm? It works up just like the right, because I can't do anything else. What gets the club, in a sense, you'll see the best players almost with straight arms on the way through. They do. Why have they got straight arms? Because watch, when we then pivot through here, look, this is going to eventually, fold here, but there, it's beautifully out in front of us, right? Because I'm giving it a beautiful destination. It's a simple flowing motion of how the lead arm and the trail arm work in your golf swing. And here, you've already learned now step 1, step 2. You know how the arms are going to work. Start to hit a few shots like that before we add the body in. So trail arm folds here, left arm folds. I've got a feeling now of what I need to be doing. It's super, super effortless. Let's have a look at this and then we'll finish off with the body. So nice and smooth to start with. I've got to be a bit careful just coming from a bit of an operation. So a little bit right, but you know, it's smooth. It feels effortless. So that how do we kind of add in the body to this very, very naturally? Well, first of all, you've got to understand the role of your body to make the swing look smooth. So I want you to imagine this for a second. I've got a heavy bag of balls here, right? So notice this. Would we do this with these balls to kind of get them swinging backwards and forwards? We wouldn't, would we? We wouldn't move our arms. It doesn't look very cumbersome. It doesn't look very smooth. What we do is this, my arms are relaxed now. But why? Why does this look smooth? What am I doing? I'm using naturally my bigger muscles, aren't I? I've got a feeling of a weight at the end, which is the club. We're just allowing that club swings freely. And I am allowing my bigger muscles to move. Now, keep watching. What's it starting to look like now? Starts to look a little bit awkward, doesn't it? What's changed? I've stopped moving. I've stopped moving the bigger muscles. Now, when you look at these best players, you'll see this club beautifully flowing backwards with their torso here, and particularly on the way through, when they're swinging, you'll see that the club, momentum of the club is just being allowed to kind of catapult out into the distance, and they're almost like hanging on to this golf club here. This is what gives it the smoothness. They are, in a sense, creating this balance, almost counterbalance to where this club is moving, right? And the way for you to start to feel this initially is to grab your driver, put your hand on both sides. Get your head, this head, right in the middle of that shaft. And just make a few swings like this, keeping your head in the middle of that shaft at this angle, right? Not like this. Yeah, all I'm doing is moving. And what this is, I love is it trains your body. Look at my legs, my torso, everything's moving as it should do to help me create that motion here. Back into impact. Now look, my body's having, look, to move in a certain way to kind of keep my head in the middle of this shaft. If I did this, my head's still down here, right? So it's a beautiful way. And then what you do with that is you go, right, we've learned the swinging club head. We've learned how the arms are folding. Now let's allow the torso to let that club, my arms are really relaxed. Now my torso is moving back and I'm swinging the club through. What I don't do is go and stop. I'll keep like allowing all of these things we just put together, look, to keep flowing through. And it's that flow and the body continuing to move here like this that gives you that lovely, silky, smooth, effortless motion. Let's grab another one. Let's show you how you can start to work on this. And I do this with my players, by the way, to start with, just as we've done initially, in a really, really small way. So you've got the feel of the face, you've got the feel of the arms. And what I do first of all is I'll just get them to get a sense here of how their torso looks. You've got the feeling here of the shaft. Just look at my head here. I'm just working that body look backwards and forwards. And I might even just get them to feel some small half-style swings just initially, just to get that momentum. So a few small half swings before we even work on the big ones, just to feel that smoothness in the motion. And you can see here, my body's flowing through freely, and it's just a few taps down there. But what it does, you look at that there, the path's fairly neutral, the face is fairly neutral, and we're just pushing that ball down there in a really, really beautiful, small, smooth way. All created, first of all, by your feeling of the face, making sure you square it so you don't need any jerky actions, your understanding of how the elbows naturally fold in such a way so they work beautifully with the body. And now you've got the body moving beautifully on an arc here, controlling the momentum of this golf club here, backwards and forwards. This is the foundation of creating smooth, effortless power and creating a swing when you get on a golf course and you really enjoy it, right? As opposed to one that looks awkward. So spend some time working on step one. Huge, huge, huge one, which is probably where it's the longest section. Share this video with a friend who you know could do with help like this. If you want to know how this applies to irons, check this video out right here. If you're new to the channel, press the subscribe button down here. And remember, if you want extra help with your game, make sure you visit DannyMoore.com. We got a wonderful community over there while I help you personally with your game. But until next week, have a wonderful golfing week.